Hey guys, welcome to lesson 2.4. We are going to talk about solving absolute value equations. An absolute value is the distance from zero on a number line. So let's pretend that we have an absolute value of 3. What this means is that you went either 3 in this direction or 3 in this direction. So by definition, absolute value is a distance. It doesn't matter which direction you go. So like in this case, the absolute value of 3, if I wanted to get to 3, I would go 3 in this direction, so it's 3. If I wanted to get to -7, I would go 7 away from 0 on the number line. Same thing here. I would go 12 away from 0 on the number line. The absolute value of 0, I don't have to go anywhere, so it's just 0. Oops. Okay, so the next part, so let's think about it this way. So what two numbers could I put in here for x to make it equal 3? Well, x, if I go to the right, x could equal 3, but if I went to the left on the number line, x could equal -3. So absolute value is always equal to the positive and negative of this number. So let's see. So if I went to the right, x would be 15, but if I went to the left, x would be -15. Both of them would give me a distance of 15. Same thing with 8. If I went to the right, I would have a +8, but when I went to the left, I would have a -8. Look at this. Do not let this trick you. This is not 2. The absolute value is a distance. It cannot equal a negative number. So this is not possible. So I'm going to say no solution. Let's go down here and solve for the absolute value. So get the absolute value equation alone. And then we are going, and what I mean by that is, like, do you see right here? Like, we want to get that by itself. So if there were, I'm going to come over here. If there were like a 2 in front of there, we would have to get that out of there before we do anything else. Okay, the second thing we're going to do is we are going to split the absolute value into 2 equations. And we'll talk about that here in a second. And then this is huge. So this is what's going to mess you up on the test. Solve each equation. You're always going to get 2 answers. This is a big deal. Whenever you see absolute value, you'll always have 2 answers. The only time you will not have 2 answers is when you have no solution, and we'll talk about that, or 1 solution. And these are both like just weird circumstances, and we'll definitely talk about that. Okay, so let's go to this first one. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this as a positive x plus 3, or sorry, x minus 3 is equal to 8. And then we're going to think about this as negative x minus 3 is equal to 8. So when we do that, positive, when we distribute that, it's just going to be x minus 3, right? So then we're going to add 3 to both sides, and x is equal to 11. The negative part, think about this. So if I divide to get rid of that negative, that's going to make that a -8, okay? So then we're going to add 3 to both sides, and I get x is equal to -5. So guys, this is what I was talking about. You're going to have 2 answers here. Always have 2 answers when you're dealing with absolute value. This is a big deal. So notice when you have a situation like this, notice we're going to do the positive and the negative of that, but it ends up making this positive and this negative. So however you want to look at it, it's totally up to you. So let's do another one. So I'm going to have the positive version of x plus 2 is equal to 6, and then I'm going to have the negative version of x plus 2, x plus 2 is equal to 6. So when I do this side, I'm just going to subtract 2 and I get x is equal to 4. But when I do this side, I'm going to get rid of that negative. I don't want to distribute it. You can. It just makes more work for yourself. I'm going to get x plus 2 is equal to -6. When I subtract 2, I get x is equal to -8. So again, I have 2 answers here. Okay, let's keep it going. So this is what I was talking about a while ago. So do you see how I had these numbers on the outside? So think about this as the same thing as like 3x minus 5. Like what would we do first to get the x by itself? And our x here is going to be this. Like we're trying to get that by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Oops. And then I'm going to divide by 3. And so when I do that, I end up with 2x minus 7 is equal to 3. It is at this time that you're going to split it up into 2 pieces. So I'm going to come over here and do the positive over here. So I'm going to have 2x minus 7 is equal to 3. And then the negative version, I'm going to have negative 2x minus 7 is equal to 3. So let's see. Let's say I'm going to add 7 to both sides and divide by 2. So x is equal to 5. When I come over here and divide that negative out, I get 2x minus 7 is equal to -3. And when I add that 7 over, I get 4. And when I divide by 2, I get x is equal to 2. So again, notice I have the 2 answers. This is a big deal. Okay, let's do this one over here. So I'm going to add 17 to both sides. And I'm going to divide by 4. So notice I'm looking at it kind of like this first step. So I don't really care what's in here. I could care less what's in there right now. And I'm just going to solve for that middle part. So I've got the middle part by itself. So I'm just going to say the absolute value of 7t plus 9. Oh gosh, that looks terrible, doesn't it? Let's clean that up. Okay. So 7t plus 9 is equal to 5. And that is still in our absolute value. So now I'm going to switch it into 2 pieces. So I'm going to have, let's see, 7t plus 9 is equal to 5. And I'm going to have negative 7t plus 9 is equal to 5. And just solve for each side. And so this ends up being a fraction, totally fine. Let's divide that out, that negative. And t is equal to -2. So again, I have those 2 answers. So make sure with absolute value, you're perfectly good with having 2 answers. Okay, try to do these next 2 on your own. Okay, so this one on the left is kind of weird because notice this. This is going to show up on your test too. When you have an absolute value equal to a negative sign, you can stop right there. That is a case of no solution. Remember, absolute value is a distance, and when you truly have an absolute value equal to a negative, it will not work. Over here, notice our final answer ended up as a negative. That's okay because our absolute value was still equal to a positive. So make sure you know the difference there. And then this one was just a normal one. Okay, go ahead and try the last 2. Okay, so again, notice this one. I want to point out the fact that this was actually started out as a positive, so you thought it would be okay. But because we divided by a negative, I ended up with an absolute value equal to a negative number. So in this case, this is another case of no solution. Over here, I started out with a negative, so it's likely for you to think, oh, nope, I can't do it. But when I added 6, it actually ended up with a positive number. So it's at this point that you decide whether or not you can go on or not. And so in this case, I have the absolute value of 3y plus 1 is equal to positive 4. So I can go ahead and split those up and get my answer. Okay, guys, your assignment is to do the 2.4 worksheet. It is on Schoology if you do not have a copy of it, and I will see you later. Thanks a lot.